Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk 2007's 1408, Stephen King adaptation of his short novel or short story. And this is such a good movie. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I have probably three bookshelves like filled with just his books. Like I absolutely love King. And I absolutely think that this is the best adaptation of a Stephen King story, like by far. Just everything about this movie is so well done. Cusack and Jackson's performances in this movie are great. The way they play off each other and act together in the few scenes they have together, so well done. Such great acting. Then just Cusack's performance throughout the whole movie, which is basically just him carrying the entire movie, and he does a phenomenal job. Let's just dive right into it, shall we? Back home, as you can see, no longer in the sauna. Drove for like 7 hours yesterday back down to Long Island, and man, I'm tired. I didn't sleep all night. I've been up since like 6 a.m. yesterday, yesterday morning. But spoiler-free stuff for anyone who hasn't seen this movie. Which, I mean, this has been out since '07. It's a pretty decently popular movie. But basically, we have Michael Enslin, who's a horror writer of who like goes and investigates like paranormal spots, and he has a line of books and everything called like 10 most haunted cemeteries and 10 most haunted houses and 10 most haunted hotels, which is the book he's working on in the movie here, when he ends up getting a postcard telling him to not enter room 1408 at the Dolphin Hotel in New York. And being the huge skeptic that he is, it's exactly what he ends up doing, just because he has no beliefs in anything he writes about ghosts, ghouls, or spirits, or anything like that. He's just a full-on skeptic, and he gets himself into a situation that he absolutely not ready for. So that's some spoiler-free stuff. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out. Like I said, I think it is my favorite Stephen King adaptation, like to film. Like absolutely, such a good movie. But I'm going to talk spoilers now. So yeah. So Michael Enslin, what a great character, man. Like I read this short story a few times years ago, and I remember loving it then. Then when they announced that they were making a film adaptation for it, I couldn't wait for this movie. And then once I heard John Cusack was going to be playing Enslin, I couldn't wait even more for this movie. And then when I saw it in theaters, absolutely loved it. And still to this day, it is a very, very well-loved film of mine. Like, I really enjoy this movie every time I rewatch it. And there are new things that you pick out every time you watch this movie. Like, there are a lot of Stephen King references in this movie. There are a lot of references to the number 13 in this movie. Like Unlucky 13. Like even the title of 1408, the name of the room. He had the numbers up, it's 13. And there's so many of them in this movie. Like I noticed a few over the years. I noticed some on this rewatch, and I'm sure there are so many more that I missed because they're just all over the place. So the whole idea of how hardcore a skeptic Enslin is in this movie. Like I've said this on the channel before, like I'm a skeptic with like paranormal stuff to an extent. I want to believe, I don't. Like if somebody came up to me, and I've said this before, and said like, oh, I experienced this, or I saw a ghost, or something like that. Yeah, okay, sure you did. Like, but if somebody told me to like go into some creepy, like I said this in Grave Encounters when I discussed that, go into this haunted asylum that's supposedly haunted, or go into this fucking hotel room in this movie and stuff like that. There's no fucking way that I'm going in there. Why? Just in the tiny little sliver of a chance that this shit's real. No, thank you. Like, I'm good. Like, that's the type of skeptic I am. I'm not a full-on 100% skeptic. that I'm just like, no matter what, like, fucking, I don't believe this shit. Sure, I'll go fucking lie in a grave next to, like, the most haunted cemetery known to man and stuff, and I'll be fine with it. No, you couldn't fucking pay me to go into supposedly really haunted locations, or like, especially this haunted hotel room and stuff. Especially after all the deaths that happen in there, and the file he reads and everything like that, you couldn't pay me. Absolutely not. And just like Grave Encounters, like, I'm going to compare this to Grave Encounters a bit, like, throughout this, because when Grave Encounters came out, it reminded me of this movie. Like, a lot of the same concepts being explored, themes being explored, and that film and this film both play on two of my biggest fears. One being trapped somewhere against your will, which Grave Encounters, it's being trapped in the fucking haunted asylum and you can't get out. This being in just a fucking hotel room, which is fucking scary as shit to me, that you can't get out of this room. And the other is just complete loss of reality. Just reality just disintegrating all around you is terrifying to me. Like, that is such a terrifying concept. Like, it's fucking so scary to think about. And it's a huge fear of mine. Like, absolutely. So, like, this movie really plays on those fears and really plays on just even also, like, the concept, the whole theme of guilt and everything, and missing a loved one and stuff. Like, dude, this movie, man, like, there's a scene in this movie, like, especially nowadays as a father and stuff. Dude, this movie fucks me up when I watch it, man. But we have Enslin doing his little book signing and everything, and, like, basically just telling everybody that he doesn't believe in any of this shit. Like, he lost all his faith in God or religion or afterlife and anything like that after losing his daughter Katie to, they don't really specify what she had, like, but it seems like some sort of, like, terminal cancer or something like that. But they never really specify. I don't even think they touch on his daughter in the short story. Like, if I recall right, like, I think, like, he had, like, a brother who, like, died of lung cancer or something. I don't know. Like, this rewatch made me want to reread the short stories. I actually might do that after I pass out after this, because I need to sleep, man. Especially, we got Found Footage Friday tonight, so get ready for that. His whole little stay scared after he signs the his books and stuff like that at the book signing, that's a straight up reference to George Romero. Like, that was like a common quote that Romero used to use all the time at conventions and signing autographs and stuff like that. That was a line of his. He would always say, "Stay scared." So, great little reference to Romero, who obviously also worked on Creepshow with King and everything. And there is some Creepshow references in this also. Like I said, this is a wet dream movie for Stephen King fans. There are so many references to other works of his in this movie, and it just works amazingly well. Like, it's like an Easter egg hunt, like, watching this movie. Like, if just taking it at face value, but then just you can dive under that and just go on an Easter egg hunt watching this movie. Just Stephen King references everywhere, and people he's worked with, like I said, Romero and stuff, and just all over the place. Like, there's just so much stuff compacted into this movie, and it all works so well. Excuse me. But he gets the postcard that says, "Don't enter 1408 from the Dolphin Hotel." Now, who sent the postcard? Because there's no return address. And I've read theories years ago on this, that either it's the hotel itself that's trying to lure another victim in, like, just, again, I compare this to Grave Encounters, like how the haunted asylum is trying to lure people in, like, and especially in the sequel in Grave Encounters 2, trying to lure people into the asylum to make them patients. Same with, like, Hell House LLC and stuff, how the hotel, like, lures people there to have more guests and everything. Like, very type of similar concepts. But who sent the postcard? Was it the hotel itself? Or another theory I've heard over the years is that it was Olin, the manager, Samuel L. Jackson, who sent him the postcard. And that he basically sent it to him because he wanted somebody to finally destroy this room and destroy the evil inside of this room. So I don't know which way I lean. I think it's more the hotel, like, drawing him there itself. But the whole Olin theory is very interesting also. And dude, what a gorgeous hotel the Dolphin is. Like, just the lobby alone, man, is such a gorgeous hotel. And the hallways and everything when he gets up to the 14th floor and everything, beautiful. There's some gorgeous shots in there. I love his whole superstitious cigarette that he always keeps fucking on his ear and stuff like that. And he says, like, that's in case of, like, nuclear war or something, like, breaks out. It's part habit, part superstition. I quit years ago and stuff. That's such a cool little touch. Like, having someone just always carrying a cigarette in his ear just for, like, the end of the world scenario or something like that. That's so cool. I really, really like that touch. The entire scene in Olin's office, that whole scene of just Jackson and Cusack acting together and playing off each other, and just amazing. Such a great scene, such great acting by both of them. Like, and the whole thing with after he asks him if he wants a cigar, he says, I don't smoke, and explains his cigarette, and he says, you want a drink? And he's like, of course, I just said I'm a writer. That's funny. And then just the whole going through the files and everything, and getting the background on the hotel room and everything like that. And like, they do such a good job of setting up, like, the lore and history of this room in the hotel. And it's eerie, man. It's unnerving. Like, especially when they start, like, really diving into, like, how many deaths happen in this hotel. It's like 56 deaths in total, and like all the natural deaths and everything like that. And then we have him mention the guy who drowned in his soup, Grady Miller, which Grady is a reference to The Shining, Delbert Grady, and the twins and stuff, the Grady twins. Obvious Shining reference there, which is great. I love Enslin's line when he's saying that why I can stay in your spooky little room, because I stopped believing in vampires when I was 12 years old, and I don't believe in ghosts and ghoulies and stuff. And even if they did exist, there's no God to protect us from them, is there? Such a great line, man. The way he delivers that and everything. And I can relate with him and stuff like that. Like, I don't think I've ever talked about religion on the channel because I'm not a religious person. If anything, I consider myself agnostic, close to atheist. I think religion is fucking bullshit. I think it's just a fucking business, and it's like the leading cause of war and death and everything throughout history. So there goes all my spiritual religious watchers fucking clicking off right now and never coming back. But yeah, never been a religious person. If anything, I've always believed in just that everything is energy, and that throughout the whole universe, like everything, all of us as human beings, animals, extraterrestrial species, which I do believe in aliens and extraterrestrials and stuff like that. That I'm not skeptic on at all. Like, I 100% believe in that, and I've said this on the channel too. But everything in this universe is connected through energy, and it connects all of us. It connects everything, and that's what I believe in. Like, that's my spiritual side, or cosmic side, if you want to call it that. But yeah, never been a religious person. So that line really hits when he delivers that line about there's no God to protect us from it and everything. Love that line. And then, like I was saying earlier, with everything, so many references to the number 13. Like, 13 is everywhere in this movie. In the title and the name of the room, it's up to 13. Fucking, I wrote some down too. The address to the for the Dolphin Hotel is 2254 Lexington, I think it is, in the city. Add the numbers up, it's 13. There's the whole thing with all hotels and stuff not having a 13th floor, and so 1408 is the 14th floor, which really makes it the 13th floor, which always reminds me of the great Mitch Hedberg, who's so tragic that he died so young, man. Stand-up comedian with his thing, and he's saying that like the hotels and stuff, they don't have a 13th floor. He's like, but you know what floor you're really on and stuff. He's like, if you jump out of 14th floor, you will die earlier. That's so great. The music in the elevator when they're going up in the elevator together and stuff, Olin and Enslin, is the music from Father's Day, the first story in Creepshow. So great to hear that little reference thrown in there too. It's the same music that they use in Father's Day in Creepshow. Awesome. What hotel does, and this is a movie that I really can't like do my thing and like nitpick stupid stuff. Like there's really not a lot I can nitpick in this movie. Like it's such a well done movie. It's so well made. It's very well shot. The score is great in this movie. It's very unnerving. It fits the whole premise in the movie so well. The sound design in this movie is excellent too. Like even like especially like in certain scenes, like with the baby crying and everything, and then it gets louder and louder until it's just drowning him out, and like he can't take it anymore, and he breaks the chair against the wall. Like the sound design is excellent in this movie. The directing is excellent in this movie. Like so many great things in this film, which is, like I said, what makes it my favorite adaptation of a Stephen King story, like by far. Excuse me again. I don't know what's with my throat fucking lately. I don't know if it's just from the weather and stuff getting nice around, summer being here and stuff, but the throat's been bothering me a little bit. And what hotel just allows you to just like scroll right to adult films and like watch them straight off the bat? I've been to a lot of hotels. I've stayed in a lot of hotels in my life. I even ran a hotel that my dad owned years ago, like 10 years ago or so. He was big into real estate in upstate New York, and he owned a Irish pub / restaurant / hotel. And after the first 2 years, when like the managers that he was having run the place, and this is like 7 hours upstate from Long Island and stuff where they lived and everything, and where I lived and everything. And after like 2 years of managers like ripping him off basically and ripping the fucking business off, he said to me, my dad's like, you want to just move up there and run the place? So I did for like 2 years. I lived at that hotel, and that hotel was fucking creepy too, man. Like I could have swore there were some times, I don't know if I was just drunk at the time or just whatever, but there were some times that like at night walking through the hallways and stuff, like it seems like something's watching you. Like it seems like there's eyes on you. Like it's a very creepy feeling and stuff, but that's a whole nother story for another video maybe. But yeah, there's no hotel that lets you just automatically automatically watch adult films. They're usually password protected, or you have to call the front desk and stuff and say that you want to order a certain film, and they discreetly like give you a password or like unlock that, unlock the adult films on your television set so you can watch it. So kids can't just turn the TV on and watch it. And in the shot of the TV in the movie and stuff, like adult is right under family, like family films. Like it goes like family films and then just adults, and he just clicks right on it and stuff, and there's just like all these pornographic titles and everything like that. Get the hell out of here. That would never happen. Does not happen in a hotel. Like they are always password protected, or adult films, like, or something like that in some way. So that's a little stupid. But and Enslin's whole description of the room, like when he first gets in there and stuff, and he's on his recorder and stuff, and he's just like he is as an author and stuff, and just describing the hotel, the hotel room and stuff, and just describing the paintings and the flooring and the floral wallpaper, and just that whole scene of him describing everything around him and everything about the room is great. Really, really well done. And the whole Carpenter's "We've Only Just Begun" song implemented in this movie, excellent. What a great touch that is, having that song in this movie, and just playing into the whole, you only last an hour in this room, and just we've only just begun and stuff, and before the counter goes to an hour and starts counting down from 60 minutes. awesome. So well implemented. That was such a clever thing, throwing the Carpenters in there. And maybe they even chose it too for just the name, the Carpenters and stuff, as a nod to John Carpenter. I don't know, but just the whole use of that song throughout the movie is fucking such a clever idea. Like, I really enjoy that every time I rewatch this. Now, the first thing that happens in this room that leads us to see that this is true and that this room is actually evil or haunted or whatever you want to call it. I've always tried to like look and figure out like what is the first like weird sign that something's going on. Like the real obvious one obviously is with the chocolates and stuff on the bed pillow, and the toilet paper being redone and everything, and fancily put back together and stuff like that. But before that, when he picks the Bible out of the drawer and he looks at it and it says Holy Bible on the cover, and he opens it up to some random page and stuff, and then he ends up throwing it back in the drawer, but the Holy Bible text on the front of the book is reversed. Like, I just noticed that on this rewatch. Like, Holy Bible this way and stuff, when he throws it in, it's reversed and says it a different way. So is that the hotel like fucking with him for the first time and he just doesn't notice? Like, I think that's like the first thing that we see, or that you can see if you're paying close attention, that the hotel, I keep saying hotel, but the room, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. The name of the movie is 1408. Of course it's the room. Fucking, so if I say hotel, I mean hotel room. But yeah, like, I think that is the first instance of this room starting to do its thing and starting to fuck with him, even if he doesn't notice that, which he doesn't. But real clever way of having a little tiny detail like that to indicate that it's already starting, that like the haunting or the evil in the room is already starting to do its thing and starting to fuck with him, even if it's on a subconscious level and he doesn't even realize it. Very well done. The whole thing with him on the recorder saying, hotel rooms are a naturally creepy place, and that, how many people have been in this bed that were sick, or how many lost their minds, how many died and everything. That's directly from one of King's short story collections and stuff with 1408, like the introduction to that story. Like, that's lifted directly from his like introduction to the story in his what the hell short story collection is it in? I can't remember at the moment, but yeah, that's a great reference too, of just having that whole little few lines thrown in there that is right from Stephen King's introduction to the story in his collection. Really, really cool. That liquor bottle, man, is so distracting to me. Like, it is moving all over the place. Like I've said on the channel, like, continuity is a huge thing for me. And I look out for that shit all the time. I notice it all the time. And like, just the little things too, but like especially like in sequels or like in franchises and stuff where they just don't keep the continuity, or they cast a different actor or actress in a sequel, or just try to retcon things like that. Oh, it annoys me so much. Like, I love my continuity. Don't fuck with my continuity. But like, that liquor bottle on the fucking nightstand, the label is facing one direction, then like in the next shot it's facing a total different direction, then it's facing fucking the same way again, and then it's turned a different way. Like that, it's so distracting. Every time I watch this movie, it's so distracting. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just, again, like my thing for continuity. And I see that and I notice it every single time I watch this movie. Like, I can't help it. Like, every time I watch this movie, it's just that goddamn fucking liquor bottle, man. Just, is it so hard to just keep it in one spot and not move it, like, between scenes? I don't know. Like, I guess it is that hard. like trying to keep that continuity. But the the thing about the continuity issues in this film, it actually plays into the movie's favor because all of it can be explained away by the whole premise, by the whole fact that he's in this room, this evil room that's fucking with his mind. So like even like that can be explained away. It still annoys the hell out of me, but like it can also, you can also look at it and stuff as it's the room. It's the room fucking with him. It's the room changing things and manipulating things to just mess with his mind. So like all like any continuity errors in this movie and stuff, even if they really are just true continuity errors, you know, by the filmmakers and stuff like that, and they just didn't notice and weren't paying attention to continuity, it plays into the film's favor, which I think is one of the few times that that can work. And this film is one of them. Like it really works. You can work that in as an explanation for any type of continuity errors in this movie. And there's a decent amount of them. Like I notice on every rewatch, there's a decent amount of continuity errors in this movie. But like I said, it can be just explained away by the whole premise of the movie and the room and everything like that. This scene with the window across the street, and when Enslin like notices that there's a light on and stuff, and he starts like waving to the guy that he thinks is a guy in the room and everything across from him across the street, and then he's trying to get his attention, and then he starts like moving his hand, and he's moving his hand back, and then every little mannerism he does, like calling the hotel, the guy on the other side is doing the same thing, and then squatting down and going like that. That's such a cool scene. What a cool scene. And then he brings the lamp up to his face and it's him. That's so cool. That is so surreal. That is so trippy. That is so mind-fucking. Like being in that situation, I say all the time, whenever I rewatch a movie or watch a movie for the first time, like I always try to put myself in the shoes of the characters and stuff. And that's fucking terrifying, dude. Like... just being there and like thinking, having a little bit of hope that possibly this person across the street can help you, and then it just being another mind fuck from the room. So well done, such a great scene. And then his whole theory and stuff of being dosed by Olin and stuff, like either through the liquor or from the chocolates and stuff like that. And he's like, never take candy from strangers. And he's hanging out in the corner of the room and stuff, like against the wall. And he's freaking out. And he's like, he dosed me and stuff. He's like, all right, I'm just hallucinating and stuff. Like 5 hours and I'll be fine. I just got to ride it out. All right, first off, if he dosed him with LSD, which is what he's implying, that shit don't last 5 hours. That's like a fucking 12 to like fucking almost 24-hour trip. So he ain't, it's not just 5 hours he's got to ride out. Like he's got a long time ahead of him, more than 5 hours. If that was the case, then he was dosed with acid or LSD or something like that. It ain't wearing off after 5 hours. Like absolutely not. Just the whole thing with Katie, with the daughter and stuff, and how this room fucks with him at the deepest level possible. Like the most like heartbreaking shit, man. Like seeing her on the TV with his wife and everything, who's played by Mary McCormick, who I'll always just relate and always remember her as Howard Stern's wife in Private Parts. And what a great movie that is, man. That is such a funny movie. I love Howard Stern. I always have. And I love Private Parts. So Paul Giamatti in that movie is fucking fantastic. It's like, you are Stern? You're the Antichrist. You're the motherfucking Antichrist. That's so good. WNBC. That shit's so funny. What a great movie that is. I might actually watch that in a little bit after I wake up and stuff, just for a little horror break and have some comedy fucking on the screen. Like, I haven't seen Private Parts in a while. What a great movie that is. When this is a situation, this is a film where, and I've said this on the channel many times as a huge 80s slasher fan and everything like that, that practical effects I absolutely love. And that I always say that If you can use practical effects as much as you can in a horror movie, that's the way to go. And if you need to touch it up with CGI and it doesn't look bad and it's done well, fine. But this is one of those movies and stuff that the CGI doesn't bother me. The CGI just works. It works in the whole favor of the film. It works with the premise. It's very well done. And like, this is one of those type of movies and stuff, and I've said this before, like with supernatural movies and ghosts and stuff like that. It's almost always CGI because it's so much easier to do, and the whole concept of a ghost or a spirit and stuff like that is so hard to recreate with practical effects. So, I mean, CGI has its place. I've said that before. Like, I mean, look at Jurassic Park when that movie came out and stuff. And yeah, they used animatronics and like actual like practical effects to an extent and everything. But the CGI added to it and enhancing it and stuff. I mean, that movie was fucking unreal when it first came out, the first Jurassic Park. Just with everything they were able to accomplish in that movie with the CGI and everything. And that was in like the early days of CGI, like when like filmmakers and stuff really started using CGI a decent amount or to a large amount in their films. And like I said, when it's done right, or when it's used in a film like this, it's great. Like, there's no complaints for me with all the CGI in this movie because it just works 100%. Talked about the sound design, the score, the shot of Enslin on the ledge when he goes out the window and he looks at the map, the hotel map and everything like that, and he tries deducing like the next room over with the mother and the baby and stuff, and that he counts the steps in his room from the window to the wall, and then figures, all right, it's that same amount of steps into the next room's window, and then he climbs out onto the ledge, man. And I don't really have a fear of heights, like a big fear of heights, like a deathly phobia of heights, but you cannot get me on that ledge ever. Like, that is some scary shit, man. Like, just like the shots in that scene of just panning down and seeing how high up he is, dude, like, he's insane just for trying that. Like, I get it, he wants out of this room, but that's one thing I wouldn't do. If I was in that situation, I couldn't do it. There is no way I would be able to bring myself to get on that small ass ledge and just like fucking scurry your way against the fucking wall of this fucking hotel where you're 14 stories up. There's no way. Like, even if you stick to the whole logic that everyone says when people are afraid of heights and stuff, just don't look down. Yeah, that don't help, because even if you don't look down, you know what's down. Like, you know how high up you are. Dude, there's no fucking way I would ever do that. Like, props to him. And I love the whole little thing that he says to the recorder. It says, like, I just want to make it known and stuff. I want people to know that if I slip and fall, it wasn't the room. Like, the room didn't win. Like skeptic, complete, like, still at this point. Like, and it's just so well done, and it just plays into his character's personality and how his character is and his beliefs so well. Of him just still, after the shit that he's seen and experienced and stuff, is still saying, like, if I slip and fall, you know, it was my bad. Like, it had nothing to do with the room. Like, it just so funny. Such a great shot. I mean, such a great scene. And then the pan shot and stuff of, like, when he's finally getting to where he thinks the window should be, and then it just pans back, and there's nothing. It's just the fucking brick walls, the exterior of the hotel, with just the 2 windows to 1408. And all the other windows are gone. That is such a great shot. That is such a great shot. It's one of my favorite shots in the movie. That is so well done. Awesomeness. Shot in the windows, yep. So when he gets back inside, and then he goes and he looks through the peephole, like looking outside the door, and there's all the bricks that are sealed up against the door. And then he looks at the windows and there's the bricks there. I didn't notice this until like the last time I saw this movie before this rewatch, but it says "Burn Me Alive" on the bricks, like carved into the bricks, which is cool foreshadowing for, the ending and stuff like that when he burns the room down and stuff. But like, if this is the room controlling everything and fucking with this guy's mind, why would it do that? Like, why would it put a way to destroy itself? Like, that never made sense to me. Like, having it say that, saying "burn me alive," is basically just the room giving him the answer of how to destroy it, which doesn't make sense to me. But it's cool foreshadowing, like I said, like of how the movie ends and stuff, and how he does eventually destroy the room and get out. But just the whole idea of why the room would do that, like why it would even have that written on the bricks, just doesn't make sense to me. And then how does, like Olin says and stuff, that no electronics don't work in 1408, but the TV works. Like, you can argue, like, yeah, that it's the room, just especially like what plays on the TV and stuff, like the scenes with his daughter and his wife and stuff like that. So yeah, you can argue that. But then his laptop works, and his fucking cassette recorder works throughout the whole film. So that doesn't make sense either to me. Like, again, it could be the room, like, and that's the thing, like trying to pick or nitpick or like anything like that with this movie. You can, and I do, like I always do, but it can all be explained away by it just, this is the room manipulating everything. But like, I always thought it was odd that Olin says that like electronics don't work and stuff, and I hope you don't have a pacemaker. The laptop I can see being a manipulation, but it's not, because he actually talks to Lily. He talks to his wife, and she ends up coming to the hotel and stuff. So it has to work, like in reality. And his recorder and stuff, like, and we see it in the ending and stuff, that it was recording and everything like that. So I don't get that, like the whole electronics not working in there, but yet we have a few electronic items that do indeed work in there. So maybe Olin just didn't know, like maybe he doesn't know that, maybe that's a theory of his, that electronics don't work, or just like experiences in the past. Like he said, in his 20 years there's been 4 deaths in the room, and that's why he doesn't let anybody stay in that room anymore. So maybe just in those circumstances, that if there was electronics involved, they didn't work. I don't know, but that's it's interesting. But I always think to myself every time I see this, it's like, why is that laptop working? And especially, why is the recorder working? Like, I don't know. That's a little strange to me. Yeah, breaking a fire sprinkler head, like how he does, like with the piece of wood, when the fire sprinklers go on and everything, and then he just like breaks the tip off of it and it stops. Yeah, that's not how fire sprinklers work. Like I said, I ran a hotel for 2 years. Like, I had to handle all of that. And we had fire sprinklers and everything. The only way that you're turning that off is to cut the water supply. That's it. Like, they're designed that way. They're designed that you, even if you break the tip off or like try anything to stop it, they will not stop shooting water out unless you cut the water supply. So that makes no sense. Like, that's there's a nitpick there that I can 100% stick to. Doesn't work that way at all. Like, that's just ridiculous. Watching John Cusack, just being able to watch John Cusack yell at and argue and then attack a mini fridge is so awesome. That's such a treat. Every time I see this, just seeing him, like seeing Olin in the mini fridge and then just screaming like, "What do you want from me? Like, what do you want?" And then he just starts attacking it and stuff like that. Oh man, it's so funny. And just his performance in this movie is excellent. Like, this is one of my favorite John Cusack performances in a film that he's been in, like by far. And especially the fact that he's carrying this entire movie. It's like a one-man play almost. Like, he does such a phenomenal job. And, you know, from someone who's read the short story and everything like that a few times, he nailed the whole character of Mike Enslin. Like, absolutely. Such a good performance. And then we have the whole thing with Mike thinking that he's out of the hotel and stuff, and thinking it was all a dream. And like he wakes up on the beach and stuff, and he plays back to the beginning when he had the surfboard accident and everything, and him thinking that he's out and everything. It was just a nightmare. And then we even see on the plane that flies by with the banner attached to it that it says 1408 on it, which should tip him off right there. Like if he saw that something's weird. Like that something ain't right and stuff. Just seeing the banner that says 1408 on it after waking up from this supposed nightmare. I don't know. But like that whole thing of that glimmer, and I said this in Grave Encounters too. And another video too, I don't remember exactly what it was. But like having that glimmer of hope that you survived and everything. Oh, and I Spit on Your Grave. When Jennifer Hills, after that whole brutal rape scene and everything like that, and she ends up running to the sheriff and stuff, and seeing a cop and being like, oh, thank God. You know, like I caught a break. Like now I'm okay. Like I'm going to get help. Then he turns out being the sickest rapist motherfucker out of all of them. Same type of thing here. Like thinking that he's out of this room. And it's like a few days too. Like when he's having dinner with Lily, he says like just like that I was speaking with Katie and stuff like just 2 days ago. Like it was so surreal. It was so real and everything like that. So he's been out a few days in his mind just to go to the post office and have it all torn down around him, and he's back in the room. Just having that hope and that little glimmer of like, all right, everything's good now. Just to be ripped away from you. Dude, that sucks. Like, that's so fucked up, man. That really sucks. And I complain about this a lot and stuff, like when films treat you like an idiot. The guy, like the post office clerk, being the same guy who was the worker at the hotel who has to take his bags up to the room and everything like that. And then they show a shot of him at the hotel and stuff, the same character. Did they really have to throw that in? Like, are people not able to make that connection just by seeing the actor's face? That this is the same person who worked at the hotel? Like, I can't stand that. Like, it's like the filmmakers think that we're idiots and that we have to be reminded of everything and that we have no attention span. Like, I can't stand that. Like, and I mentioned that in the Hell House LLC videos, like the third one especially. It's just like a clip show from the first two movies, and they're just talking about Sarah Havel, and they're showing like fucking 2-3 clips of her and stuff. Like, we know who she is. Like, you really have to be showing us like past clips of this character. That's just such a big gripe for me in any film. It's just like they're treating us like fucking idiots, like 5-year-olds. Like, we can't put 2 and 2 together. Like, I that's such a gripe for me. And yeah, he's just back in the hotel room, man, and that sucks. Then this whole scene, dude. This scene with Katie when he's back in the room. This scene fucking gets to me. Like, especially, like, you know, the last 8 years of being a father and the few times I've rewatched it since my daughter was born. Dude, this scene, it's not even like a punch to the gut or a punch to the heart. Like, it's like ripping through your heart into your fucking soul with him seeing his daughter who died and all the grief that he carries because of it and all the disbelief in God and the afterlife and stuff, because he says early in the movie, like, what type of God would do this to a little child and everything like that. And just seeing your fucking daughter coming up to you and hugging you and just, I love you, Daddy, and stuff, like, they won't let me leave and stuff. I wish we were together, you, me, and Mommy, and him. Dude, his performance in that scene, Cusack's performance, is fucking heartbreaking. Like, I watch that scene, I get emotional. Like, that's one of the few scenes in a horror movie or a thriller, whatever you want to call it, I tear up. Like, dead ass, like, straight up. Like, I'm being 100% honest. That scene gets to me so deeply. then him just her dying again in his arms, and him and with the lines he says, and it's just like, no, you can't take her twice and stuff like, and just like hugging her and like, you can't do this, like you can't take her away twice. Like, dude, I'm getting emotional just talking about it. Dude, that whole scene is heartbreaking, soul shattering. Like, oh, dude, I couldn't imagine. And like he says, like, you can't take her twice. That line hits me like a fucking ton of bricks. Like, absolutely. Like, that is so fucked up. What a fucked up evil room, man, to put this guy through something like that. I couldn't imagine. And then the hour resetting and stuff, and the timer resetting, and them saying, everyone has their own free will and stuff, but you can use our express checkout service and everything. That's so funny. And then the noose comes down, and then he sees like himself hung and everything like that, and he sees the graves. He sees his daughter's grave like covered, and then right next to it his empty grave and stuff. Fucked up, dude. Like, this room is fucking evil. Like, it really is. And that's obviously a body double of Cusack when he sees himself hanging from the rope and stuff like that. And you can obviously see that they used like a fucking bungee cord or something like that, because as soon as he drops and stuff like that from the noose, he like bounces back up like a foot or two. So I mean, that gets to me a little bit. Like, it's not a big nitpick or anything, but every time I see it, it's like, yeah, that's obviously a body double, and you can see him bounce back up in the air like a foot or two. So I don't know, just a small thing. But then we get the whole thing on the phone and stuff with 5, this is 5, and 8, this is 8, and we killed all your friends are dead, which is a reference to the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, which regrettably, like, I have all the Dark Tower books. Like, I've never read I read the first 3. I never got around to reading the last 4, which I got to eventually do. I never saw the Dark Tower movie and stuff, because I heard it was not a good adaptation at all, which is such a big thing with most Stephen King adaptations, that just are not done well and aren't faithful to the source material and everything. But yeah, I gotta definitely, like, just even start from the beginning and reread the first 3 too, and then just get all the way through it, because it's been long enough now, a long time coming, for me to read the entire Dark Tower series. Then Mike's setting the room on fire, and he's rescued and everything. And then before, when the room's on fire and everything, and he finally sits down and smokes that superstitious cigarette that he always carries with him and stuff. That's great. And he throws the dish through the window and causes a backlash and everything. And Lily and the cops and everything see the fire from 1408, and they run up there and everything, and they get him out of the room. And Mike's line to the firefighter and is like, don't go in that room. Like, that room, it's evil. Like, so good, man. Then with all that chaos going on, with a explosion on the 14th floor, and firefighters and cops and stuff everywhere, and panic, and people running out of the hotel and everything, and Olin is just sitting in his office smoking a cigar and sipping on a drink, and says, well done, Mr. Enslin. Like, he's not out on the floor. He's the fucking manager of this hotel. He's not, like, attending to any of this. Like, he's just letting this all go on. And he's just, like, chilling in his fucking office. Get the fuck out of here. That's so stupid. Like, that makes no sense at all. Like, what manager is gonna just be chilling in his office with all this crazy shit happening, and like fucking firefighters and police everywhere and explosion going on and stuff? That's so stupid. That always bothers me. And then we get the ending, man, and there's like 3 endings to this movie. I don't remember the alternate ones well, but I remember like one is that Enslin doesn't survive and he dies in the fire. But then Olin goes to like his wake or his grave or something like that, and he sees in the rearview mirror, he sees like a burnt up Enslin and stuff like that, and he sees like a girl like in the cemetery walking with her dad or something like that. It's not a good ending and stuff. The true ending, like the theatrical cut ending and stuff, amazing. with just him unpacking everything from the room and Lily going to throw everything out, and he takes the recorder and he plays it. And what a fucking dude! This ending is it hits me so hard. Like I said, with the scene with fucking Lily in the room, same thing. Like one of my favorite endings in a movie from the 2000s, onward, of him just playing and fast forwarding through the tape and everything like that, and just hearing your daughter's voice, man, and Lily hears it and she drops the fucking box that she's holding, and she's just in complete disbelief, and just hearing your daughter's voice again, like that this was all real, that this really happened to him in this hotel room, that he was really with their daughter for a little while in there, and he was able to hold her again, and just Lily hearing that, like as a mother who lost their child and stuff, and hearing that, like, I just want to be together, you, me, and mommy, and stuff like that. Oh, dude, it's fucking heartbreaking, man. It really is. What a great ending. What a great movie. And like I said, my favorite Stephen King adaptation by far. Just everything about this movie is great. It's so well made. It's so well shot. The cinematography is great. The sound design is really good. The score is great. The performance by Cusack is fucking excellent. And Samuel L. Jackson's performance, the few scenes he's in, excellent. Like, there's some great shots. Just such a good movie. And this went on for longer than I expected it to, like always. But like it's a favorite of mine. Like, I love this movie. I rewatch this movie pretty often. Like, not like multiple times a year or anything like that, but every like other year or something like that, I'll throw it on. But I love this movie. I absolutely adore it. So anyone else who loves this movie, or what's your favorite scenes, what's your whole take on all the concepts and themes that are played throughout this movie? How do you react to the whole scene with the daughter and everything like that? Like, do you feel that same soul crushing like fucking feeling and stuff just from that whole scene? Like, leave it in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to know what other people think about this film. But all right, guys, tonight it's Friday today, so tonight is Found Footage Friday, like every week, and I will have a few videos up later tonight, and Found Footage Fridays, man, every single week. But all right, I'll talk to you guys later tonight. I got movies planned already for what we're doing for Found Footage Friday, and I will see you guys tonight. Take care.